Okay, so we're going to have a look at the 2025 National 5 Spanish reading paper. I will go through the answers and sort of the best, thought processes when it comes to this paper and, National 5 Spanish reading papers in general. This, of course, the method I'm applying here is also applicable to any National 5 modern language reading paper. When it comes to, approaching each text as they come up, I mean, everyone has their own method, so you might like to read the whole text first, try and work out what words you don't know. I personally find that might waste a little bit of time, because with National 5 reading, it's really not about knowing every word and knowing exactly what every sentence means. It's more about being able to look at the questions, read the Spanish, and then apply that knowledge by spitting back out an answer in English and deducing from what you can put together in the text a correct answer. And remember, these are generally basic. They're basic answers that are short. You don't need to write big long paragraphs or anything like that. The way I tend to approach in a National 5 paper anyway is that I generally find that each paragraph will correspond with, as the questions come up, they tend to run in a very chronological way. So, each question sort of follows on the way the text goes. So I would sort of read a paragraph and then we'll look at what the questions say. You may choose to read the entire text, quickly skim over it. I wouldn't recommend, going through the whole text with a fine-tooth comb and trying to understand every sentence. I don't think it's helpful, and I think it probably wastes a little bit of time. You don't need to know the whole text inside out before we look at the questions. It's not a long text. It doesn't require, lots and lots of deep understanding. We're looking at, basic punchy questions and trying to get down, points and answers that will give us, marks for however many, if it's 1, 2, 3 or whatever, for each of them. So let's go ahead and look at we'll look at the title in the first paragraph and then just see what questions come up. So, las mascotas son buenas para los jóvenes. Pets are good for young people. Again, you've got your dictionary. Any words you don't know, look them up. But don't just jump to the dictionary as soon as you don't know a word if you're reading it, right? Look at the question and then you'll be able to work out whether or not you're going to need to know if you know, okay, this is my sentence for the first question and you're like, I really don't know what this word means, then yeah, look it up. But don't just jump to it straight away unless you think you need to, because it's time you don't need to waste. So, participaron casi 8.000 jóvenes en una encuesta reciente sobre mascotas. Esta encuesta revela que tener una mascota aumenta el desarrollo emocional. Una de las estadísticas más importantes es que la mayoría de los jóvenes dicen que son más contentos si tienen su animal cerca. There's the first paragraph. Let's look at question A. So we've got, the article discusses a recent survey about pets. We know that because the first sentence is about a recent survey about pets. Una encuesta reciente sobre mascotas. And question number 1, how many young people participated in the survey? It's literally in the first line. Participaron casi 8.000 jóvenes en una encuesta reciente sobre mascotas. So almost 8,000 young people participated in a recent study about pets. So how many young people? The answer there is literally almost 8,000. Yeah, that's it. 1 mark, easily. Don't dither about. We can come back at the end and look over them to make sure we're happy. But just go straight to the next part. What does this survey reveal about having a pet? Reveal, you're going to know it's going to be something like revela, a word along that way. Pet, mascotas. Revela, there's the word there that we knew would come up from the question. Esta encuesta revela que tener una mascota aumenta el desarrollo emocional. So this study reveals that having a pet increases or improves emotional development, emotional growth, something along those lines. So what does the survey reveal about having a pet? It reveals that having a pet increases emotional development or improves emotional development. So having a pet increases emotional development. Okay, and what do the majority of young people say? No, majority, you'll know that word, mayoría, young people, jóvenes. So there's those keywords there, mayoría, jóvenes. We know we're going to be in this sentence here for that last question. Una de las estadísticas más importantes es que la mayoría de los jóvenes dicen que son más contentos si tienen su animal cerca. So that literally means that one of the most important statistics is that the majority of young people say that they're happier if their animal is nearby. So what do the majority of young people say? They say that they are happier. Yeah, they say that they're happier when they have their animal nearby. Or we can simply just write that they are happier. Yeah. Okay. Now, part B will probably come from the second paragraph because we've gotten to the end of that now. So we'll read this. La encuesta explica que los jóvenes que pasan tiempo con sus mascotas son más capaces de mostrar sus sentimientos, compartir sus cosas e interaccionar con la gente en general. Como afirma Lara, de 14 años, amo tanto a mi gato y tengo mucha confianza en él. Sé que puedo decirle todo lo que quiero. Again, if you were reading that, you're going to get the gist of it, and then we'll go to the questions, you'll get even more of the gist. And then when we go back after looking at the question, if there are any words at that point where you think, I really need to know that word to be able to answer that question, then you can look it up. So what are young people who spend time with their pets more able to do? More able, so you're looking for capaz, pueden, something like that. And if I remember correctly, there's that word there, capaces. That means, able. So la encuesta explica que los jóvenes que pasan tiempo con sus mascotas son más capaces de mostrar sus sentimientos, compartir sus cosas e interaccionar con la gente en general. So you got 3 points in here. It says that young people who spend time with their pets are more able to show their feelings, show their emotions, show their feelings, share their things, share things, and interact with people in general, or interact with people. So you just need to write down 2 of them. It's just a 2 marker. So you would pick the 2 that you feel most comfortable, or the 2 that seem the easiest to write about. I would just pick the first 2. So they are more able to show their feelings. More able to show their feelings and compartir sus cosas. Share things. Yeah. Great. Again, the third point there would be interaccionar con la gente en general. So a third point there would be, interact with people. Interact with other people. But you only need the 2. Elena Laredo, so this is for the next paragraph. So we've essentially done this one and we've done this one. So we can now look at this paragraph. Elena Laredo organizó la encuesta. Observa que las mascotas tienen el papel de subir el ánimo a un joven. Por ejemplo, después de sacar malas notas en el colegio, si está enfermo o cuando tenga problemas con sus amigos. Elena añade, muchos jóvenes están contentos de hacer sacrificios para sus mascotas. El 75% dice que se levanta temprano para cuidar a su mascota. Además, muchos jóvenes pasean a su perro bajo la lluvia. Vaya entusiasmo. So that's quite a big paragraph. If you wanted to sort of break that up and come and look at the questions and go back, then that's completely reasonable. So C, she organized the survey. We know that because it says it in the first sentence. Elena Laredo organizó la encuesta. Elena Laredo organized the survey. She gives examples of when pets cheer people up. And what does she say? State 2 things. This one, tener el papel. So tener un papel literally means, you might look at that and think that it means paper, but papel also means roll. So tienen el papel de, so they have the role of subir el ánimo, to increase the mood. So we know that could be that, cheer people up. Literally, so what do they do to cheer them up? Por ejemplo, she gives examples. So ejemplo, you're looking for that word. Después de sacar malas notas en el colegio, so after getting bad grades at school, when do they cheer young people up? So after getting bad grades. And one more. Si está enfermo, so when they're ill. So when they are ill or sick, and then you obviously only two, so that'll do it. But if you wanted another one, if you didn't know how to write those two, and the last one was o cuando tenga problemas con sus amigos, so when they have problems with their friends or whatever. After getting bad grades, or if they feel ill, if they are when they are ill. Great. So the next part, many young people are happy to make sacrifices for their pets. Are the following statements true or false? So you know that these are probably just going to be, one of these is just going to be a direct translation into Spanish. So which one is true and which one is false? 65% get up early to look after their pet. El 75% dice que se levanta temprano para cuidar a su mascota. 70 does not mean 60, it means 70. So you can immediately say that one's false. Many young people walk their dog in the rain. Muchos jóvenes pasean a su perro bajo la lluvia. That literally means many young people walk their dog when it's raining. So that one is true. And what does Elena say about welcoming a pet into the home? Acoger, there's that verb to welcome, acoger. So this last paragraph here will be for the last question. Elena concluye, en mi opinión, acoger a una mascota en casa es una decisión muy positiva. So she says, what about it? She says that welcoming a pet into home is a very positive decision. So she says that it is a very positive, good decision. Okay. So that is the first one, the first text. So once you're done, move on. Looking at the next one, viajar con niños, traveling with children. Same again, I would be reading it paragraph by paragraph and having a look at the questions. If we sort of go, the questions give you more information as well. So they have little tidbits in them too that will help to increase your understanding. So I would do both at the same time. It's just how I would do it. If you have a different way, absolutely do it the way you know and the way you feel is best. But for me, I would like to follow the questions along with the text because it helps to increase an understanding overall. So, como autor de blogs de viaje, llevo muchos años viajando con mis hijos. Y en mi opinión, ir de vacaciones es importante para su educación porque descubren culturas diferentes y ven otras formas de vivir. So, as an author of travel blogs, I have spent lots of years traveling with my kids, and in my opinion, going on holiday is important for their education because they discover different cultures and they see other ways of living life. So the first question, in Pau Garcia's opinion, this is Pau Garcia, the author. Remember to always read the top line as well. It gives you a little bit of information about the text. So we know from the top that his name is Pau Garcia. Going on holiday is important for children's education. Why? State two things. So we know why. We're looking for a por qué, which means because. Can we find one? Por qué, there you go. Descubren culturas diferentes y ven otras formas de vivir. There's the 2 points there. So they discover new cultures. Point one, and the other one, ven otras formas de vivir. They see other ways of living. Okay. Other ways of living, other ways of life, anything like that. Okay. Question B. We can read the second paragraph now that we know we're sort of done with this first one. Es fundamental involucrar a los niños en la planificación de las vacaciones. So it's fundamental, it's necessary to involve kids in planning holidays. De esta manera pueden aprender sobre el lugar que van a visitar y tener un poco de responsabilidad. So this way they can learn about where they're going and they also have a little bit of responsibility. So the question: it is essential to involve your children in planning the holiday. Why? State two things. So we're literally just stating the two things that it said. De esta forma, pueden aprender sobre el lugar que van a visitar. They can learn about the place they're going to visit. They can learn about the place they will visit. Point 1 and point 2. Y tener un poco de responsabilidad. You could even just write this as one sentence. And have a little responsibility. Okay. Good. Part C. Why is it a mistake, to plan holidays that focus exclusively on the children? So we're now on the next paragraph. También es mejor planificar solo una o dos actividades al día y luego dejarles tiempo para divertirse. Sin embargo, es un error. There you go. Why is it a mistake? Es un error. And remember, why, so we're looking for por qué. Es un error planear las vacaciones centradas exclusivamente en los niños porque si lo hacen así, al final los adultos se van a aburrir. So it's a mistake to focus solely on children because if you do that, then the adults will get bored. The adults will get... Oh, sorry, I'm writing on the wrong question. Adults will get bored. D, we can go straight to the next paragraph. No es necesario salir de España para ir de vacaciones. So you don't need to leave Spain to go on holiday. En la Costa Brava, por ejemplo, hay mucho que ver. Playas bonitas, puertos pesqueros y restaurantes típicos. So on the Costa Brava, for example, there's lots to see. Beautiful beaches, fishing ports, and, typical restaurants. Traditional restaurants. Además, recomiendo visitar el parque acuático. Para ahorrar dinero es preferible comprar las entradas por adelantado, ir en temporada baja o llevar su propia comida. So this is about ways to save money, really, isn't it? It's you don't need to leave Spain to go on holiday. On the Costa Brava, you've got beautiful beaches, fishing ports, typical restaurants. And he says he also recommends to go to the water park, and to save money, it's ideal, it's better to buy your tickets beforehand, go in sort of a low season, or take your own food with you. So we can look at what the question says now. I'm guessing it's going to be about saving money. This one is about saving money. The first one is what can you see in the Costa Brava. That was just that list we had here about the beautiful beaches and fishing ports and typical restaurants. Just write the first two. So you've got beautiful beaches, or pretty beaches, nice beaches even, and fishing ports, yeah. And also you've got their typical traditional restaurants if you didn't want to write any of those two. So the second part, he recommends the water park. We know that. Yo recomiendo visitar el parque acuático. And what should you do to save money? So, para ahorrar dinero es preferible comprar las entradas por adelantado. So, buy tickets beforehand. Or ir en temporada baja o llevar su propia comida. So, go on the sort of low season, the off-peak season, or take your own food. So, go on or go during, probably sounds a bit better than on, doesn't it? Go in, go during the low season. Okay. The arrival of a child turns family life upside down, so that'll be in this last sentence. Ciertamente, la llegada de un hijo da un vuelco a la vida familiar, pero todavía es posible disfrutar de unas vacaciones inolvidables con niños. So, certainly, the arrival of a child turns a family upside down, but it's still possible to enjoy your holidays, some unforgettable holidays with children. So, it's a truth. The arrival of a family child, yeah, we read that. What is it still possible to do? It's impossible to enjoy an unforgettable holiday. It doesn't say anything about relaxing. Vacaciones inolvidables, unforgettable. So yeah, it doesn't say anything about relaxing there. So that would be the second one. That's true. Okay, and the last text we'll read here. Again, we'll take it the same way. We'll go paragraph by paragraph. Los cuentos de hada en clase. Cuento de hada, if you didn't know that. I'm not sure if you'd find that in your dictionary as it is, but un cuento de hada is a fairy tale, and you can see it there. So you could probably deduce there from the text about what it would be. So, según Juan Robles, profesor en una escuela primaria, los cuentos de hadas... Oh, it tells you at the bottom, actually. I'm not reading far enough. So, cuentos de hadas, fairy tales, tells you at the end. Según Juan Robles, profesor en una escuela primaria, los cuentos de hadas son un recurso educativo importante. Ofrecen a los niños y a las niñas la oportunidad de explorar su imaginación y de desarrollar su interés en la lectura. Okay, Juan Robles is a primary school teacher. What does he say about fairy tales? Well, he says that, so según, you know, that means according to, so we know he's saying that. And he says that it is son un recurso educativo importante. So he says that they are an important, and if you didn't know this word recurso, you could look it up in your dictionary, but it means resource. So they're important educational resource. Okay. Part 2, what do fairy tales offer the children the opportunity to do? So, oportunidad, that's linking that straight to this question here. They have the opportunity to explorar su imaginación, to explore their imagination, y de desarrollar su interés en la lectura. So they have the opportunity to explore their imagination and to develop their interests in reading. So they get the opportunity to explore, what was it? Explore their imagination and to develop interests in reading. Perfect. Okay, part B, we'll go straight to the next paragraph. Los orígenes de los cuentos de hadas, so the origins of fairy tales. Los cuentos de hadas existen desde hace más de 5,000 años en todas partes del mundo. So fairy tales have existed for more than 5,000 years, in all parts of the world. Crean un universo al que los niños no pueden resistirse. Crean un universo al que los niños no pueden resistirse. So they create a universe that kids can't resist. Les fascinan los animales que hablan, so they're fascinated by animals that talk, los personajes que tienen poderes mágicos, the characters that have magic powers, y los superhéroes que triunfan al final, and the superheroes that triumph at the end. So this is a translation question. So we're looking for fairy tales that have existed for more than 5,000 years. Here it is. More than 5,000 years. So this is the part here that we are translating. En todas partes del mundo have existed for more than 5,000 years in all parts of the world. Yeah. In all parts of the world. That's the most logical translation. Another way to say it that would honestly just be easier would be say everywhere. Equally, that's correct. Part C, according to the fairy tale, according to the article, fairy tales create a universe that children can't resist. Why? Two things. That was just what we spoke about. So they're fascinated by animals that talk. Animals that talk. And one more thing. Los personajes que tienen poderes mágicos. So characters with magic powers. Yeah. Magic powers. There's your 2 points. And then the third one, if you didn't want to write any of those two, los superhéroes que triunfan al final. So superheroes who triumph or who win at the end. So the last paragraph. Los cuentos de hada en la escuela, so fairy tales at school. Juan Robles usa los cuentos en el aula. You know that word, aula, classroom. Juan Robles usa los cuentos en el aula para enseñar idiomas porque son una fuente maravillosa de vocabulario. So Juan Robles uses fairy tales in the classroom to teach languages because they are fuente, is a source, so a marvelous source of vocabulary. Cada año presenta con sus alumnos un cuento de hada en alemán en el salón de actos. Los ensayos tienen lugar los miércoles durante la hora de comer. Claro, es mucho trabajo, afirma Juan, pero sé que vale la pena cuando los alumnos se expresan con confianza en alemán o cuando veo las sonrisas de los espectadores. So this is quite wordy. You might get to this end part and think that you're struggling a bit to understand it. You know, this is quite a long sentence. And it can become quite overwhelming, but just go to the question, break it down into the separate parts. Part D, so he uses them to teach languages, we know that, it says it here, para enseñar idiomas. Why does he use this? He does it because son una fuente maravillosa de vocabulario, because they're an excellent, a marvelous source of vocabulary. They are a marvelous source of vocabulary. You don't need to say marvelous, you could say excellent as well. Wonderful. The next question. Every year he puts on a fairy tale show in German. There you go. Every year, there you go, he puts on a play in German, in Alemán, en el salón de actos. When do rehearsals take place? So you've got all these words. It's a very wordy paragraph, but you're just looking for that one piece of information. When do they take place? Well, they take place, tener lugar, to take place. Tienen lugar los miércoles durante la hora de comer. So Wednesdays at lunchtime. State any one thing. So you could either say at lunchtime or on Wednesdays. So if you just write Wednesdays, that's your mark. You don't have to say Wednesdays at lunchtime. You could say either or. And the last question here. Juan says putting on a show is hard work. When does he know it is all worthwhile? So he knows it's worthwhile. So to be worthwhile is valer la pena. So sé que vale la pena. Cuando los alumnos se expresan con confianza en alemán o cuando veo las sonrisas de los espectadores. So this is probably the harder part of the whole exam, is just understanding this little sentence here. So I know that it's worthwhile. I'll move some of this text out of the way so you can see it a bit better. Sé que vale la pena. I know it's worthwhile when the students express themselves confidently in German, se expresan con confianza en alemán, or when I see the audience smile, or the smile from the audience. So just two things we need to write. So we'll say it's worthwhile when the students express themselves confidently in German, when the students express themselves confidently in German. So there's one. And then the second part, o cuando veo las sonrisas de los espectadores. So when I see las sonrisas de los espectadores as the smiles of the audience. So when I see the smiles from the audience. You don't even need to write that. You can just write the smiles from or in the audience. Okay, so that would be the end of that one. And that's every question with every mark. So this would be a 100% exam. And like I said, I find it really beneficial to go through the text and the questions at the same time, because you can really just see how chronological it is. They really do follow on one from the other, in terms of, this question A is paragraph 1, question B is paragraph 2. And the questions in English really do give you a good insight into what the text says as well, which sometimes, for example, in this last text, that last paragraph, it was quite wordy. But this last part D, does give us a lot of insight into it. So don't neglect the questions, and definitely don't neglect the top as well, because it does give you some information. Okay, so try to go through it and see on your own without watching this again, and then you can look afterwards and see if you get the same answers.